If you're thinking about making a move to the ATL from the Big Apple, but you're curious as to how the cost of living compares, well, stay tuned. Today I'm hitting those big ticket items like transportation, housing, food, and more. My name is Teresa Fudge, and I am Atlanta, Georgia's favorite running realtor with Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Partners. Welcome to my channel. I make videos about how great it is, and sometimes not so great it is, to live here in the Atlanta area. Atlanta, Georgia is thriving and growing. We are projected to hit 9 million people by the end of 2050. We are home to 21 Fortune 500 companies, and our job market is thriving. One of the reasons for that is our reasonable cost of living. Let's start out by talking about transportation costs. A single person with no children is going to spend about $5,100 a year in transportation costs here in the Atlanta area. A family of 3 is going to spend about $11,600. In New York City, a single person will spend about $4,300, while a family of 3 is going to spend about $11,700 a year. I'm curious as to why single people in New York City are spending less than single people here in Atlanta when the overall costs are similar. Is it because more single people are either walking or riding their bikes to work in New York? I'd be curious to see your answers. Leave me some comments. Let me know what's going on there. I know that New York City has a lot of runners, but we have a lot of runners here in Atlanta too. We're actually known as Run City. You need to know that Atlanta is definitely a driving city. So if you're coming here without a car, you really need to be able to live close to where you work. We really do not have a very good transit system, so you'll definitely need to rely on some other type of transportation. In New York City, most commuters are using their public transit or they're walking or biking to work. I found too that the city of New York actually makes it very cost prohibitive for someone to own a private car, not to mention the time and trouble it takes to park and store it. Atlanta has really become known for its thriving food scene. We have a lot of trendy restaurants, casual eateries, and so many food trucks. Even gourmet donuts have made a big hit. In an inexpensive restaurant for one, it's going to cost you about $15, while 2 people can eat for about $60 in a mid-range restaurant here. In New York City, a single person is going to eat for about $20, and it's going to cost you over $100 for 2 people to eat in a mid-range restaurant. If you're living single here in Atlanta, you're going to spend about $3,200 a year on food, while a family spends about $7,000. I was surprised to see that in New York City that is over 40% more. Here in Atlanta, a gallon of milk is costing about $3.65, while a simple loaf of bread is about $2.50. In New York City, a gallon of milk is costing over $6, while a loaf of bread is over $3.50. When I went to New York City to run the marathon for the first time, I was really surprised at what a cheeseburger costs. But I don't care what they charge. I'll always eat my Junior's cheesecake. Y'all don't judge me. No matter where you live, you have to budget for health care. Here in Atlanta, a single person is going to pay about $1,300 a year, while a family of 3 is going to spend about $7,000 a year. In New York City, a single person will spend about $3,000 a year on their health care, while a family is going to spend about $8,000 a year. In both places, though, we are really blessed to have lots of choices for hospitals and clinics, and a bunch of specialists to choose from. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you check out my pros and cons of living in Atlanta. There's a link up here somewhere, so you can click on that. If you own a dog, you're definitely going to need to factor in those expenses as well. Here in Atlanta, we pay about $50 to $75 for a full-service groom. Of course, that depends on the size and breed. In New York City, that groom's going to cost you over $100. If you need to board your dog, that cost will start about $25 here in Atlanta area, up to about $50 a night, depending on the size. In New York City, that's going to start at about $75 a night. And from what I understand, in New York City, it's really expensive to have your dog walked, which a lot of people do because they're nowhere near their apartments during work hours. And don't forget about those routine vet visits. In Atlanta, that'll start about $45. In New York City, that's going to be about $60. Speaking of grooming, the average haircut is about $60 here in Atlanta, while in New York City, that's over $195. If y'all need a referral, I've got a great one. I've been using my stylist for almost 20 years now. And a simple manicure is about the same cost in both cities. It's about $25 plus tip. And if fitness is a big part of your lifestyle, you'll need to know about gym memberships. In Atlanta, you can get a gym membership on average for about $40 a month. In New York City, that's starting at about $110 a month. I did read about those boutique gyms and studios there in New York City. Some costs were over $300 a month. That's 2 pair of running shoes, y'all. Here in Atlanta, we have a lot of homeowners actually convert their basements into home gyms. I don't think that would motivate me very much. I'm really a group runner, and I really like being with people when I work out. #suffering. What is it my grandmother used to say? Misery loves company? What do you prefer? Do you work out alone or do you work out in a group? Do you like those classes or maybe some one-on-one attention at the gym? Let me know down there in the comments. The cost of childcare is a big ticket item for every parent, no matter where you live. In Atlanta, you can expect to pay about an average of $295 a week for one child. In New York City, that's about $289. There seems to be a bigger difference though if you're putting your child in like a private kindergarten. In Atlanta, you can do that for about $1,300 a month. That's costing over $2,400 a month in New York City. Housing costs make up the biggest difference in the cost of living in Atlanta versus New York City. Here in Atlanta, you can rent a 1-bedroom apartment for about $1,800 a month. A 2-bedroom is going for about $2,400 a month right now. In Manhattan, that 1-bedroom apartment is over $4,100 a month. If you're looking to purchase a home, here in the Atlanta area, the median home cost is about $390,000. In New York City, that's $1.4 million. That's a lot of money. So how much money do you need to make to live happily, either in New York City or Atlanta? Well, here, a salary of about $121,000 is going to give you a real comfortable life. For that same style of living, you're going to need to add another $100,000 in New York City. To put that all into perspective, living in Atlanta is about 44% cheaper than living in New York City. The good news is also that Atlanta employers are only paying about 17% less than a New York City employer. That leaves you with a whole lot of discretionary funds if you're making that move to the ATL from the Big Apple. If I can help you at all in making that decision to move to Atlanta from New York City, just give me a call or shoot me a text. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.